Hello and welcome to Sierra Make. Today I'm going to make some custom DIY anime patches. These are a great way to spice up or nerd out any of your clothing without having to buy an entirely new item. You could even use them to recycle or upcycle any of your torn clothes. I'm going to use two different methods to make these patches, starting off with hand embroidery, which I'm going to say now, if I can do it, you can do it. All you need is an embroidery hoop of your chosen size, some duck cloth or thick canvasy type cloth. I just recently learned that this cloth is called duck cloth, so I'm going to use that a lot. And a needle and some embroidery thread. So first, we're just going to cut out a nice little square of our duck cloth that is big enough to fit on our embroidery hoop, and we're just going to place that in between our two hoops and press that down tight. I'm going to pull on the edges of the cloth just to make sure that it's really tight and taut. It's really taut and tight. And screw that closed. Alright, let's quickly sketch on our design. Yep, that's right. For our hand embroidery piece, I'm going to make a One Punch Man Saitama patch. Since my hand embroidery skills are beginner level, I'm just going to do the outline with this black embroidery thread. I guess this is also called embroidery floss, but we're just going to floss it, thread it through the needle, and tie a knot on the end of it. Okay. Now we can start with our stitching. So for this whole thing, since I'm just doing an outline, I'm going to do what's called a back stitch. So we're just going to start off with pulling the thread through the back to the front and making one single stitch. And then for the next stitch, you're actually going to start on the outer side. So you're going to thread up on the further point of that stitch line. And then when you come back down, you're going to come down connecting those two stitch points. Kind of like you're making little loop-de-loops as you're going through the fabric. I'm also keeping these stitches pretty small because I'm trying to capture all of the curves that I want. But let me give you a little closer look at that back stitch. See how I came up from that farther point in the line and now I'm going down and connecting the 2 points? And we're just going to do that stitch again and 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 again until I've done the entire outline of Saitama's body and face and head and everything. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced in your embroidery skills, I'm sure there's plenty of other stitches you can use to make a really cool design, but I'm just using a back stitch for this whole piece because it makes it really, really easy and beginner friendly, which is exactly what I need.
Saitama sensei. Sensei.
And there is our hand-embroidered patch. Now I can sew it onto any pair of jeans or cover up any hole that I want with it. Now let's move on to the other method. For this next method, you've seen me do it multiple times. I'm going to use the embroidery machine. Yes, this method is only possible if you have an embroidery machine, but it is the best way to get nice, clean patch designs, and it's super easy to do to make some sweet custom patches. So I just tossed some images that I got off the internet onto a thumb drive and plugged it into this really old computer that I have hooked up to the embroidery machine and opened up Masterworks 2. We're going to be using the auto-digitizing wizard to convert our JPEG file into a stitch file. I'm going to readjust the size of the image to about 3.5 inches, which makes a pretty big patch. And this one's actually going to be pretty easy because there's only 3 colors there, the background white and then the black and red. So I don't really have to mess with the tolerance of the outlines because it's pretty clear because of the colors. And I'm going to leave it with minimal color change settings, always lock stitch, and never trim. So a little patch variation, and what I did for this one was I actually ended up drawing a circle border around that outside and deleting all of the black because I actually embroidered this onto the black duck cloth. So I didn't really need black embroidery thread if it was just going to be black cloth underneath. So here's how it looks on screen, and I'm going to save that as a PES file. I have no idea what that stands for, but it's the file that I need for the embroidery machine to be able to read it. Save. And I'm just going to drag that onto the drive that is connected to the embroidery machine, and let's prep our fabric. So here is our embroidery hoop, and just like with hand stitching, you're going to put the duck cloth in between the 2 pieces of the embroidery hoop. However, for the embroidery machine, you're also going to add this little sheet of tearaway stabilizer, and this really holds it in place. It's not a big deal when you're hand stitching, but when the embroidery machine's going at it, you really don't want the fabric to slip and slide like it would when you're hand stitching, so the stabilizer makes sure it's stiff and stays in place. Now here's a little trick for using an embroidery machine. To switch out the threads, you can just snip the one that is currently on there, place the other one on top, and tie the 2 ends of the string together. Then you just pull it through all of those tension settings, which there's a ton of for the embroidery machine, and thread your needle. Alright, so here's our design on the embroidery machine, and I'm just making sure that the thread color matches up with what I have up on top. So the red is the second one, and the black is the first one. And let's just start. And that's the end of the video. I hand embroidered One Punch Man, made 3 different Naruto patches, and even a Jujutsu Kaisen Sukuna patch. Comment down below which one's your favorite, and if you want to buy one or want me to make you a custom patch, DM me on Instagram. Like this video, share with anime fans, and please subscribe because I post every Friday at 3. Thank you for watching.